Japan, the nation of perfection, punctuality, and politeness, just ran out of words. Because the one country they never expected to challenge their mastery just did the unthinkable. The Philippines outsmarted Japan at its own game. And the best part? We didn't even brag. We just built, solved, and showed up. Now Tokyo's silent. Economists are stunned, and the internet can't stop talking. Filipinos didn't copy Japan's blueprint, we rewrote it. If that doesn't make you proud, type proud Pinoy below, because this is bigger than history. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments. And I will give you a heart. Let's be real, for years, we've been the world's best kept secret, and not in the cute, hidden gem travel vlog kind of way. I'm talking about the kind of secret that makes the world comfortable, pretending not to notice us because it's easier that way. We build their cities, raise their kids, clean their hospitals, and yet when credit gets handed out, the Philippines is usually left waiting by the door like the unsung hero of someone else's movie. But something just changed, and I mean changed. Japan, yes, that Japan just stopped in its tracks. The same Japan that measures progress down to the second, that polishes perfection until it reflects its own reflection, that Japan just froze, speechless, because Filipinos did something no one thought we could do. We didn't just match their efficiency, we redefined it. Let that sink in for a second. For decades, Japan was the world's North Star for precision and productivity. If something was flawless, it was Japanese engineered. Meanwhile, we were boxed into the warm, hard-working, good-hearted helpers label. Beautiful, but limited. Useful, but not leading. And here's the painful truth we played along. We believed that story. We took our diplomas and dreams and sent them overseas because that's where the opportunities are. We accepted second place like it was a cultural inheritance. But then, something happened quiet, subtle, and seismic. A group of Filipino engineers, scientists, and innovators, many of whom trained under Japan's very own programs, turned around and said, "Thank you for teaching us. Now watch what we can do." And they did. From space technology to climate-resilient infrastructure, Filipinos are now building systems Japan didn't see coming. Remember the microsatellite Dewata project? It started as a collaboration between Filipino and Japanese scientists, but by 2025, the Philippines had designed its own homegrown satellite system, streamlining disaster prediction faster than Japan's own models. That's right, the country once labeled developing just leapfrogged a G7 giant in a field built on precision and foresight. But here's the real shocker. Japan didn't react with arrogance. They reacted with silence. The kind of silence that hums with respect. Because this wasn't about competition, it was about recognition. The Philippines had achieved something Japan deeply understands: mastery through humility. While most countries chase perfection, Filipinos perfected adaptability. We make the impossible possible with half the resources, double the heart, and zero complaints. Japan's efficiency runs on precision, ours runs on persistence. They have automation, we have ingenuity. They build machines that run flawlessly. We build communities that survive the impossible. Now, if you're wondering, so what exactly did Japan see? Let's talk numbers. In 2024, global innovation indices ranked the Philippines as one of Asia's fastest rising creative economies. Filipino startups in renewable energy and medical tech grew by over 40% year on year, outpacing several Japanese sectors struggling with population decline. In robotics-assisted healthcare, Japan's holy grail Filipino developers rolled out low-cost rehabilitation robots that outperformed Japan's high-end models in accessibility and community adoption. That's when Tokyo's analysts realized something unsettling. The future of sustainability doesn't belong to those who can build the most expensive solutions. It belongs to those who can build the most human ones. And that's what shook them. Because in the Philippines, technology isn't built to replace people, it's built to rescue them. Every line of code, every solar panel, every invention has a heartbeat behind it. We build with empathy. Japan builds with precision. But guess which one the world is starting to need more? This moment, this unthinkable moment, didn't happen overnight. It came from decades of quiet humiliation turned into motivation. Every Filipino worker who smiled through exhaustion, every nurse who held a stranger's hand in a foreign hospital, every builder who sent money home instead of keeping it, that's the data behind this breakthrough. It wasn't AI. It was sacrifice. It wasn't automation. It was aspiration. And now Japan sees it. They see that the same people they once called reliable have become remarkable. That the nation once known for exporting labor is now exporting leadership. It's poetic justice wrapped in hard science. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Japan, the land of humility and subtlety, is struggling to find the right way to say wow, because pride isn't their language, respect is. And that's what they're showing us right now. Quiet respect. You'll see it in the partnerships forming between Japanese corporations and Filipino startups. You'll see it in the student exchange programs that used to be one-way but are now two-way. You'll even see it in Japan's media coverage of Filipino achievements, no more small island nation patronizing tone. Now it's Philippine innovation reshaping Southeast Asia. So what's the takeaway? It's this. The Philippines didn't rise by trying to be Japan. We rose by staying Filipino. Our power isn't in perfection, it's in passion. It's in the messy, beautiful way we figure things out when everyone else says it can't be done. Japan's stunned silence isn't disbelief, it's acknowledgment. In the next part, we'll talk about what Japan is really saying behind closed doors. The reports, the shifts in trade strategy, the sudden spike in Japanese investments back into Filipino innovation hubs. Because when a superpower quietly changes course, that means something historic is unfolding. If you're watching this and your chest feels a little heavier, that's pride. Go ahead and type "Proud Pinoy" in the comments right now, because what we're witnessing isn't luck, it's long overdue recognition. The kind that only happens when the world finally admits the truth that the Philippines never needed saving, it just needed seeing. Here's the thing nobody tells you. When a country like Japan goes quiet, it's not because they don't care, it's because they're calculating. They don't react, they recalibrate. And right now, every quiet boardroom in Tokyo has one word scribbled across its digital whiteboards: Philippines. Because the very people they once saw as the world's caregivers are now the world's creators. You see, Japan's strength has always been structure, order, discipline, and an obsession with perfection so extreme they once redesigned rice grains for visual symmetry. But the world doesn't just need precision anymore. It needs imagination. It needs emotional intelligence. It needs the kind of empathy that can rebuild nations after a storm, and that's something you can't automate. That's something the Philippines has in unlimited supply. Take the 2025 Global Skills Report from Coursera. Filipinos ranked among the top 5 worldwide in adaptability and leadership under pressure, 2 traits Japan's aging industries are desperate for. Meanwhile, Japan's working-age population has dropped below 59 million, its lowest in half a century. That means more job vacancies than citizens can fill. Guess who's stepping up? Filipino engineers, nurses, digital designers, and tech developers, not as replacements, but as reinforcements. But let's not sugarcoat this, there's irony here. Japan once came to the Philippines offering aid and guidance after World War II. Fast forward to today, and it's Japan quietly asking how we did it. How did you scale renewable microgrids so fast? How are you training youth for AI integration while keeping community values intact? Questions that used to be asked to Japan are now being asked about the Philippines. The teacher is studying the student. That's why Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's recent remarks raised eyebrows. We see in the Philippines a model for resilience and modernization through humanity. In diplomatic language, that's code for "they figured something out we didn't." Behind those calm words, Japan's trade ministry is already fast-tracking new collaborations, particularly in clean energy, agricultural tech, and digital innovation, all fields where Filipinos have made shocking strides. Here's a hard truth. For decades, Japan saw the Philippines as the heart of Asia, but not the brain. That stereotype died this year, when Tokyo's researchers published a 2025 study showing Filipino-led startups outperforming Japanese counterparts in emerging markets like Africa and Latin America. Jaws dropped. Filipinos weren't just helping, they were leading. And the kicker? They did it with 60% fewer resources and triple the global impact per dollar spent. But let's pause. This isn't just about data, it's about identity. Because for every Filipino watching this video right now, you know what it feels like to be dismissed to work twice as hard for half the credit. You've seen that polite smile that hides disbelief. "Oh, you're Filipino? Wow, your English is so good." As if it's a surprise we can compete on the world stage. Well, guess what the world's done being surprised? They're taking notes now. Filipino innovation isn't born from luxury, it's born from necessity. Japan builds because it's prepared. The Philippines builds because it has no choice. When you live through typhoons, blackouts, and 1,000 government delays, you learn to innovate fast. And that's exactly the kind of problem solving the modern world demands. That's why major Japanese corporations like Panasonic and Hitachi have started outsourcing R&D tasks to Filipino labs, not for cheap labor, but for better ideas. And here's where the wow moment comes in. Last quarter, Japan's Science and Technology Agency released a quiet statement buried under trade news. The Philippine innovation model has demonstrated a replicable framework for grassroots innovation. Translation? Japan wants to study our way of doing things. Let that sit for a second. The nation that gave the world bullet trains, robotics, and precision engineering now wants to learn how Filipinos think. But before we get too proud, there's a twist. Respect isn't the same as equality. Japan may admire the Philippines now, but admiration doesn't automatically translate to partnership. There's still a gap in recognition, in wages, in influence. That's the next challenge, because respect without empowerment is just applause from the sidelines. And that's where this gets personal. Picture a Filipino nurse in Osaka. She's worked 12-hour shifts caring for elderly patients who can't even pronounce her name right. One day, her Japanese supervisor tells her, "We could not run this ward without you." That's genuine respect. But then her contract renewal comes with no pay raise, no advancement opportunity. Respect feels good, but equality changes lives. That's the battle still ahead. The truth is, Japan and the Philippines are standing at a rare intersection. One has wisdom but no workforce. The other has workforce and wisdom but still fights to be heard. If both nations figure out how to balance pride with partnership, they won't just shape Asia's future, they'll rewrite the entire playbook of global development. And that's what's happening right now, quietly. Japanese universities are opening dual degree programs in Manila. Filipino scientists are being invited to co-author studies in Tokyo. Even NHK, Japan's most conservative broadcaster, aired a feature titled The Filipino Century, Asia's Hidden Powerhouse. That's not flattery, that's foresight. Still, the question lingers. Will Japan truly embrace the Philippines as an equal or keep us as the inspiration story they can quote without sharing the stage? That's what we'll unpack next. Because in Part 3, we'll reveal what Japan isn't saying publicly and how the rest of the world, from Korea to Canada, is now reacting to the Filipino rise they never saw coming. If you believe this transformation is only the beginning, type respect in the comments right now. Because what's unfolding here isn't just about jobs or trade, it's about rewriting who gets to define progress in Asia. Let's be honest, no one saw this coming. Not Japan, not South Korea, not even the US. The world spent decades labeling the Philippines as promising, like a polite way of saying not yet. But 2025 changed everything. And now, the same nations that once pitied us are starting to pivot around us, quietly, respectfully, nervously. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. The global order doesn't run on GDP anymore, it runs on resilience. And no one, absolutely no one, does resilience like Filipinos. You've seen it in the hospitals of London, the tech labs of Toronto, the care homes of Tokyo. Wherever you go, the backbone of progress has a familiar accent, Filipino. And it's starting to dawn on the world's power players that we're not just filling roles, we're holding systems together. The IMF reported that overseas Filipino remittances reached a record $38.1 billion in 2024, the highest in Southeast Asia. That's not pocket change, that's a global lifeline. Every dollar sent home fuels small businesses, educates children, and builds homes. It's economic CPR performed by millions of unseen hands. But here's the kicker. Japan's latest demographic crisis has made them realize something deeper. It's not just about filling labor gaps. It's about cultural endurance. Their workforce is shrinking, their youth are disinterested in labor-heavy jobs, and their population is aging faster than technology can compensate. Meanwhile, Filipino workers are bringing energy, empathy, and connection back into their institutions. Hospitals that were once silent are laughing again. Elderly homes are suddenly alive with warmth. Factories are running with both skill and soul. Japan may have machines, but Filipinos have heart. And in a world that's growing colder by the algorithm, that heart is priceless. Let's rewind a bit. 10 years ago, Japan was exporting robots to assist its seniors. Today, it's importing Filipinos. That's not just economics, that's irony at its finest. Because when Japan invested billions into automation, they forgot one small thing. People don't just need help, they need humanity. And now, the same nation that once prided itself on independence has learned the most Filipino lesson of all, that connection is a kind of technology too. Here's what's really happening behind the polite headlines. Japan's Ministry of Health released a confidential study earlier this year, acknowledging that facilities employing Filipino caregivers reported a 27% higher patient satisfaction rate and a 40% lower turnover among elderly patients. Why? Because Filipinos treat strangers like family. They don't just clock in, they care. That's not a statistic you can code into a machine, that's soul work. And this isn't just Japan. Canada's health sector, the UK's NHS, Singapore's engineering hubs, all of them are quietly rewriting their policies to bring in more Filipino talent. Because the truth's finally too loud to ignore. Filipinos don't just adapt to systems, we improve them. We don't just work for countries, we rebuild them from the inside out. But before we celebrate, here's the flip side. The world needs to start paying fair for what we give. Respect isn't just applause, it's action. It's fair wages, safer working conditions, and recognition that doesn't end when the shift does. Because here's the uncomfortable pattern. Every time Filipinos fix someone else's system, our own back home keeps breaking. We're exporting talent faster than we're nurturing it. We're bleeding brilliance. And one day, if we're not careful, we'll be left with applause but no audience to receive it. That's why this moment, this global recognition must become a turning point. Japan's silence, Canada's praise, America's dependency, these aren't coincidences. They're signals. The world's foundation is shifting, and for once, the Philippines isn't catching up, it's leading. But leadership demands self-respect first. Because no matter how much the world loves our kindness, it's time they also fear our competence. And this brings me to something that should hit home. A Japanese researcher once said, Filipinos don't just fix problems, they fix people. It sounds poetic, but it's also prophetic. Because as AI rises and economies crumble, the one skill that can't be replaced isn't coding or construction, it's compassion. And compassion happens to be our native language. Think about it. While global powers fight for dominance, Filipinos quietly hold the line. We heal, we teach, we build, we care. We're not the background characters of the world's story anymore. We're the plot twist. The miracle nobody scripted but everyone needed. Now, here's where it all ties back. Japan's stunned silence isn't just admiration, it's realization. They see that the very values their culture once tried to preserve, respect, discipline, harmony, still thrive in Filipino DNA. The difference? We never let modernization erase our humanity. And that's exactly what's making the world nervous. So, what comes next? The Philippines must decide, are we content being the world's helping hand, or are we ready to become its guiding voice? Because history doesn't reward the hardworking. It rewards the unignorable. And right now, the world is looking our way. Before you scroll to the next video, pause. Breathe. You're living through the era where Filipinos stopped asking for validation and started demanding collaboration. Where the words "made by Filipinos" began to mean excellence, not exception. Where the phrase "we can't do it without you" finally became a statement of respect, not dependence. If you felt overlooked, if you've ever whispered, "one day they'll see us," this is that day. The world sees us now. Even Japan-disciplined, perfection-obsessed Japan is speechless. Type vision in the comments if you believe this is the dawn of a new Filipino century, where our brilliance is no longer borrowed, but owned. Because the truth is simple. The Philippines was never behind. The world was just late to notice.